So I am so excited because I'm really hoping to find some yellow trees like that. I would love to do some like more warmer, like woodland painting-esque things today. So let's go find a spot first. I'm not really quite sure what I'll find when I'm out there, but yeah, let's give it a go. Someday I'm going to update the fact that when I carry my easel long distances, it like flops around on my backpack, like, you know, hit myself in the head all the time. It's a struggle. I feel like it deters me from like taking it very far distances. So someday I'll get it and I'll actually just strap it in. But for now, we're just gonna deal with it. Yeah. God. That's fine. Let's go to the trailhead. I think we found our spot. It's gonna be tricky though. I always am a little bit worried when I go to paint the woods because there's so many layers and so much detail to it that I'm always a little bit nervous about making sure that I'm not going too overboard with detail so that it looks really messy. So I'm gonna have to be really particular about choosing exactly which details to put in and which to leave out. So I think that the color palette is gonna be really pretty with this because it's a lot of like the moss color on the trees, but then all of these trees have really pale bark. I think that will be a really pretty contrast to the depth of the deepness of the woods. So lots of browns and greens and things like that, but I think it's gonna be really pretty. I've been really trying to keep in mind for this underpainting the layers that happen in a forest. Honestly, I find it really difficult to wrap my head around all of the depth and detail that goes into a forestscape because it's really hard for my eyes to ignore all the trees that are everywhere. The painting that I'm doing here has a lot less detail and a lot less trees than I actually will like see with my eyes in real life. I'm also working on a really small canvas, which I figured would be a fun, different choice for today. I haven't worked on a small canvas in a while, so it's an extra challenge for me to get in all of the detail while still working on a really small space and then thinking about layering so that there's depth. The other thing is that layering is really difficult when you're trying to do it all in one sitting, or at least it's difficult for me. It's easier to do a layer and then let it dry and then paint over it, do a layer, let it dry, paint over it. For the sake of these plein air paintings, I'm trying to do it all in one sitting, so I just have to approach the layering process a little bit differently by being selective about filling in the background, filling in the midground, and then filling in the foreground all separately. So with this underpainting, I'm really trying to take a lot of time to make sure that the values are in correctly. I'm approaching this layering process from the back to the front. I'm going to try and do this in a layered way where I start with the farthest layer and then do the back trees, and then do the midground trees, and then the foreground trees. Hopefully with that, I'll end up somewhere with a finished painting that has convincing depth. And I think in doing that, I'll end up with a more resolved painting quicker, even if I spend a little bit more time in this beginning part than I usually do. And honestly, it's arguable that I probably should be spending this amount of time on the underpainting anyway. But yeah, so I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling like as long as I can keep in mind that there does not necessarily have to be as much detail in this painting than what I actually see in real life with my eye, then I think that we're going to be on the right track. In this layering process, I'm trying to put the coolest, darkest layers in the background. I think that I'm gonna have to push these values a little bit differently than they actually are. The tones that are in the background, midground, and foreground are fairly similar. There's slight differences between the deepness and the green of the background versus the deepness of the green in the foreground, but for the sake of this painting, I'm gonna make the foreground much more saturated and the background much more desaturated. Hopefully we can get a sense of depth by doing this. I'm really trying to keep each layer as separate as possible, so you and I are gonna have to see together how this actually turns out. Also, as I'm standing here, the clouds are shifting and sometimes the sunlight peeks through, sometimes it's completely overcast and there's no definition of the sun shining or anything, so I'm debating whether I actually should put little sunspots in or if I'm gonna just end up enjoying it with this overcast look, which is very true to how the rest of the day has been. It's been very overcast today. So yeah, I'm gonna keep playing with this. I'm going to be getting the midground layer in here, and I'll be testing out to see just how much I want to push the saturation for this midground. And hopefully, I'm really crossing my fingers. I'm really hoping that this is gonna work and is actually going to look like it's a path that's going into the woods and not 2D and flat. Because of the complicated nature of a forestscape, I'm really hopeful that at the very minimum, I can create a sense of depth with this painting. the nature of how the leaves have fallen on the path here, it's so dappled and there's all these different colors, and I'm trying my best to lay them in one at a time so that it's not crazy with all of these different colors all at once. I just want to communicate the way that the path is curved. On one side of the path where it meets the forest, it pulls up and then it scoops down into the center of the path where you would be walking. And then on the other side, the right side, it scoops back up. And there's this bowing effect. And then the path also winds, and I would love to figure out a way to communicate both the scoop of the path from left to right and also the turns of the path as you go deeper into the woods. I'm hoping that I can figure out how to do this. Because all the leaves are so multicolorful, they're kind of joining to create their own uniform color. So what I've been doing is I've been relaxing my eyes so that the image I'm seeing in front of me is blurred, leaving out a bit of detail. Then as I relax my eyes, the prominent color will come forward. It would be almost like if you were to take a picture of your landscape and then put a bit of a blur effect over it so that you can just see the prominent colors and the basic shapes, which is something that I'll do a lot in painting for getting shapes down and proportions and everything. But right now I'm just doing it so I can figure out what the base color of the path is. You guys, I'm actually kind of surprised at how well this is turning out. I don't know. I feel like I've just got a good feeling about it. I'm in the phase where I'm kind of just doing some finishing touches and things like that. I think that the foreground needs to be lightened or the midground trees need to be darkened because they are looking pretty similar. I feel like the path is actually looking pretty good. Like, as far as having the movement that I wanted it to have, I really wanted it to look like it was concave and winding. And I think that I'm actually getting there. So that's really exciting. Oh, and the other thing is the depth. I feel like the trees in the background actually look like they're far away, which is super exciting because that was the reason why I was always so hesitant to paint a forest, because it's just a complicated task. It's very layered, obviously, and it's hard not to make it look flat. But I think I'm actually doing it. Like, I think I'm creating the depth. It looks like the background trees are in the distance, and then it looks like the foreground trees are in the foreground. And so I'm pleased. I'm pleased with where it's going, and I'm just gonna keep working on it. You guys, I'm actually so pleased with this painting. Like, I mean, is it perfect? No. It's on a smaller canvas, so that could help explain why I was able to do it quicker. But I feel like I learned a few things today, and that's really what's important. I also feel like I've done what I've never been able to do, which is paint the woods successfully. Now, what I actually mean by that is, have I painted forest scenes before? Yes. But to me, they always lacked a certain convincing depth. They didn't have this thoughtfulness about them that I feel like I'm starting to get in this painting, and that's really exciting. There's a lot of woods to cover where I am, and so this is getting me excited because I feel like if I'm able to do this, then it opens up a whole bunch of other stuff for me to paint. So, yeah, I'm really thrilled about this. I think that it's a sweet little painting, and it's definitely a marker of progress for me in that I was able to successfully paint a forest with depth. If you watch this video all the way through and you're still here, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and supporting what I'm doing. I have so much fun making these kinds of videos, so if you would like to see more forestscapes or landscape paintings of any kind, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.